everyone! Another new artist. This time it is Tom Waits, and somehow that name sounds vaguely familiar. I don't know. Did I know a Tom Waits at some point in my life, or have I run across the name somewhere? Have I heard his name somewhere? I don't know, but something about it kind of rings a bell. Thomas Allen Waits is an American musician, composer, songwriter, and actor. Have I seen him in a movie, or have I known of some composition? I don't know. Rob Bowman said that Waits has never been of his time, ahead of his time, or, for that matter, locked into any particular time. An outsider artist before the term was in common use, Waits has been enamored at various points in his career with the cool of 1940s and 50s jazz, the 1950s and 60s word jazz and poetry of such beat and beat-influenced writers as Jacques Kerouac, Lord Buckley, and Charles Bukowski, the primal rock and roll crunch of the Rolling Stones, the German cabaret stylings of Kurt Weill, the post-war alternate world of invented instruments and rugged individualism of avant-garde composer Harry Partch, the pro-metal blues of 1950s and 1960s Howlin' Wolf and their extension into the world of Captain Beefheart's late 60s avant-rock, the archaic formalism of 19th century parlor ballads, Dylan's early and mid-60s transformation of the possibilities of language in the worlds of both folk and rock, the elegance of pre-war Irving Berlin, Cole Porter, and Hoagy Carmichael, the sophistication of post-war Frank Sinatra, and, more recently, the bone-crushing grooves of 1980s and 90s funk and hip-hop. Woo! He's jumping all over the place. Indeed, the art of Tom Waits has altogether transcended time and, to some degree, place. Sounds like it. Tom Waits is the one who provided the voice of Tommy the Cat on the Oh, maybe that's how I heard his name. Because I listened to Tommy the Cat. Tom Waits is the one who provided the voice of Tommy the Cat on the studio version. Okay, maybe I did run into his name somewhere then. Must have. All right, this is Grapefruit Moon. What a name.
Grapefruit moon, one star shining, shining down on me. Heard that tune, now I'm pining, honey, can't you see?
Wow, this is really some lush piano playing, and his voice has a very there's a sort of warm, I guess I would say there's a sort of Frank Sinatra element to it, isn't there? There's that sort of smooth, warm, syrupy quality to it. There's a sweetness and a little bit of sentimentality mixed in, but it's rich and colorful. Oh, and the bass, filling out the bass line underneath all the piano. That was interesting. I kind of like it.
Shining, honey, can't you see? 'Cause every time I hear that melody, something breaks inside. One star shining, can't turn back the tide. Never had no death.
I think I hear just a touch of maybe some little bit of percussion hiding back there behind everything. But this is sweeping along with all the piano and the the cello line coming weaving through there. One of the things that I work with my students on is helping them learn to identify and relate to different textures within music. And as a pianist, that's an important thing, because the piano has a lot of keys on it. You can go anywhere, you can play as many or as few as you want, but they all sound like piano. It's not an orchestra or a band where you have different instruments giving different timbres and textures. So you have to become very attuned to the texture of what you're playing. Is it two independent lines that are weaving back and forth? Is it a lot of vertical stacking of notes, chords and things? Or is it a melody with accompaniment? Is it arpeggiated? Is it all these different ways of creating texture on an instrument that sounds pretty much the same top to bottom other than pitch? And this is an interesting example of a very lush chordal texture, which is also incredibly melodic. The way he mixes in those little chromatic descents to pull you down melodically, as well as snippets of the melody he's singing, which are featured in the accompaniment. It's a really well-balanced and effective way of creating this luscious sound quality, and at the same time gliding us through it, bringing us through in a very smooth manner so that we're not just vertically chunking out chords.
Never had no destinations, could not get across. You became my inspiration, oh, but what a cost. And every time I hear that melody, something breaks inside. The grapefruit moon.
The more I'm thinking about this texture and the balance that is so evident in this recording, I'm thinking more about how does he achieve that, and what is happening here. Some of the teachers I work with, we have this little complaint that we talk about from time to time, and that is that so much music for students to sing, if you're a vocal student, you end up being accompanied by piano so much. And this idea that the texture of the piano isn't necessarily the most complementary to the human voice, because you have the rapid decay of the piano, and then you have the voice, which is a long sustain, and they don't always match very well, especially the way some of these accompaniments are written out. It's not, yes, it's very utilitarian and necessary as a student, because you can't always sing with an orchestra. You've got to practice somehow, right? And piano is the default instrument for everybody. So that's how it ends up being that way. But here's a piece of music where the piano and the voice seem to complement each other so well and work so well together. But there are some little tricks that he's doing in this entire mix that is helping that feel so united. One is this bass, plucking out the bass line of the piano. That is another stringed instrument, slightly different timbre, still has the rapid decay of the piano, but it adds a little bit of a different depth quality down underneath everything. And then there's the cello. This cello is not featured front and center at all. It's just weaving through. You hear it come and go, but the cello, like the voice, is a very legato sustained instrument. And to have the cello in the mix, weaving its way along throughout the accompaniment, gives the voice another kind of partner, which helps to balance this difference between rapid decay of piano and bass and long sustain of the voice. And the way it's all set together, it is, I might say, masterful, because it's done just right, so that what we end up hearing, feeling primarily, is the piano and the voice. And it feels very natural. It feels like, oh wow, those belong together. But they belong together because there were these bits of liaisons and glue put in throughout the mix, which helps it hold together like it does. Really nicely done.
Breaks inside the grapefruit moon, one star shining is more than I can hide.
Oh, that was nice. So we have a bit of a swelling of not just a cello, but now a whole string ensemble. But listen to what the cello did. There is the same chromatic dee-dee-dee-dom that the piano's doing. You heard it with the strings as well. Isn't that nice?
Now I'm smoking cigarettes and I strive for purity, and I slip just like the stars into obscurity.
You notice what happened here is the instrumentation became so lush, so warm and smooth and full, that when he comes in singing, "Now I'm smoking cigarettes and I strive for purity," remember at the beginning I commented on how Frank Sinatra-like and smooth his voice was? Now here, suddenly, because of what's happened with the instruments, his voice ends up sounding a little bit dry and raspy, like a smoker's voice, as he's singing, "Now I'm smoking cigarettes." It's so smooth and orchestral here.
Now I'm smoking cigarettes.
You can almost imagine him puffing on a cigarette.
And I slip just like the stars into obscurity. But every time I hear that melody, puts me up a tree. grapefruit moon, one star shining is all that I can see.
That was interesting to hear. It's true. There's a sort of pre-war elegance, and then there's sophistication, and there are all of these different elements brought into this music. Overall, it has a sort of a melancholy sentimentality to this song, but I'm really pleased that I listened to it because I would have never recognized it as being the voice of the one who sang Tommy the Cat. It gives me a bit more appreciation for what he can do with his voice. And maybe I will listen to another Tom Waits something or other in the future, because now I'm really intrigued. If he did Tommy the Cat, the voice of Tommy the Cat, and he does Grapefruit Moon, which is such a contrast, what else does he do? I'm curious and eager to maybe explore him further, so keep your eyes open for something in the future. I'm sure it will come up at some point. But a very lovely kind of it's the sort of thing you might expect to hear in a maybe played at a piano in a fine restaurant, somebody's singing there, playing the piano. Probably they wouldn't have a full orchestra, string orchestra accompanying, but maybe there would be a violin or cello to fill it in a bit, and I could totally picture that some dinner event somewhere. It feels like it would really fit that kind of environment. Well, there we have Tom Waits' Grapefruit Moon. I'll see you soon.